Have you ever been in that place where you feel like everything is hitting you at once? Hello, everybody. I am back for episode 2. I am showing up, okay? I am so excited to be back. Today, I am going to be filming, I'm going to call it entry 1 of Working While Wounded podcast. Last week when I posted, I called it episode 1, but it really feels like 0, like the beginning. So that is now going to be entry 0, and today is going to be entry 1. And I'm super excited to tell you guys that the Lord has just been moving on Working While Wounded as a community, as a brand, as a mission to just go out and reach people and point them back to the Lord. This whole past week, since He gave me the name for Working While Wounded, I just ran with it. I don't know what's come over me, but I've just done so much when it comes to setting up different platforms. We now have a Substack. And then I also have an Instagram account. It's not really up and running yet, but really I've been doing a lot of branding and the vision and kind of curating where and how I want to reach people and how the Lord wants me to do that. So I'm super excited because I just feel like there's so much that's rolling out with this community and with this project. And I'm even more excited and blessed because it's not mine, it's the Lord's. This is something that He wanted me to do for Him. And so sometimes there's this fear of, what if this, graphic doesn't look good enough, or what if people don't like it, or, what if nobody follows and subscribes? But in this place of knowing that it's not my community, it's not my brand, I'm just the person that is allowed to steward it, that fear starts to kind of fall away a little bit. But even today, getting back on here for episode 1 and entry 1 is hard because I didn't get any views, I didn't get any likes, and it's you gotta fight this feeling of, who am I performing for? Am I trying to reach people, or am I just trying to be obedient to the Lord? And for me, I'm just trying to be obedient. So I am fighting the urge to not get on here and do what I said I was gonna do, and I'm just showing up exactly as how I am. I'm really excited to share with you guys too that on top of the other sites that I mentioned, we have a prayer channel now. So if there's anyone watching or there's anyone viewing that really feels like they're just going through a hard time, or maybe even that you want to do a praise report, and you need some help with that, we do have a prayer request channel, which is free, and you can just submit any prayer request that you want. You can submit it anonymously as well. So there's a link on the YouTube channel, and then on any of our other sites, on Substack, on Instagram at Working While Wounded, there are also links to reach that prayer channel. So I would just love it if you could let me bless you guys and pray for you and pray with you and celebrate with you and also mourn with you. I really believe that prayer has changed my life in so many ways, and just understanding how to bring everything to the Lord and bring it to His feet. So I'd love to be able to do that for you guys as well. The other thing that I'm really excited about is that Working While Wounded now also has a blog. And the reason that that blog came around is because the brand, the Lord spoke to me, was that this started as a podcast. But I was finding myself writing an entire just pages of notes for what I wanted to talk about. I've kind of always struggled with making things concise, and I've struggled with just getting to the point. And so it always writing always comes out for me. Even my journals, I'm telling y'all, my journals are just full of stuff. All of this is 2025 to now. And so I just write. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to pre-write what the Lord is speaking to me, and I'm gonna post it as a complete blog entry, and hope that maybe for an audience that is more of a reading audience, they can find interest in that. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that blog entry and I'm going to kind of shape it and mold it into a podcast entry. And so that's where I'm coming up actually with today's word, which I'm super excited to share with you about. It is called Gethsemane, the place of pressing. So I want to get into this because I just realize the space that the Lord has had me in. And honestly, I did. Like I said, I wrote the blog. I posted it on July 7th, and there was so much confirmation about just why I needed to post it, the oil that was coming from that, and I had to let it go. I had a little bit of fear of, like, it's not written very well. I'm really not an author. I'm not a writer. Like, this is just written, like, my thoughts on a page. But I had to push through that because the Lord just told me to let it go and let it flow. So I posted the blog on July 7th, and you can find that on blogger.com. You can also find it on our Substack if you want to read it. But essentially, it goes into just much more detail kind of about what I'm going to be talking about today. And even there will be some details in there that aren't going to be on the podcast. So if you're interested in that, please follow us at Working While Wounded on Blogger and Substack. But anyways, the word is so good. The season that I have been in, mostly for probably March to now, like really feeling it from March to now, is pressure. I have just been under so much pressure, like from every side, whether it's dealing with my career transition out of the Army and into a new, like, I don't even know what into my new looks like. I mean, right now I'm working an internship, which is great. I get to apply my skill set and I love it. But every job I've applied to, like, I've been rejected from, nothing's been working out. And so, yeah, if I'm being honest, I'm not sure what my life looks like in about 2 months from now when I am not in the Army anymore. But from that, the pressure of that transition, the pressure of relationship pressure has been really big for me lately. And just kind of like navigating healthy communication, navigating healthy space, and also navigating holding on to hope and promise in something that the Lord spoke to me versus what it looks like right now and in the moment. Not having solid community in my immediate vicinity, feeling like I was just isolated, and finances, trying to save money so that I have at least 1 month of saving in case I don't have a job. Just feeling like, Lord, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I don't know how, like, where I have 1 month, but where's the provision going to be, you know? Literally just felt like so much pressure. And so I just want to ask, have you ever been in that place where you feel like everything is hitting you at once? If you've been in that season, then I think that this message might really resonate with you, and so I'm excited to share it. What I talked about is that Gethsemane, right, the place of pressing, usually it's not pressing just in one area. Usually it's coming from pressure from all sides. And one thing that we know about the Lord is that He is a great refiner. He is someone who cares more about the development of your heart, the refinement of your posture, the refinement of your character than He does about your comfort in any given moment. Not to say that he doesn't give you peace, that He doesn't comfort you, but just that sometimes He will allow you to go through seasons that feel so heavy, that feel so hard, because there's something that He's trying to develop in you. And so for me, God started speaking, and I'm going through this season of just pressing and pressing and pressing, and it's like I can feel it getting heavier and heavier by the day, but I don't really know what's going on. I'm just like, my relationship's not working out. I don't have all the money I want to have. I've been getting rejection after rejection from a job. Like, just thing after thing after thing. And I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. Like, what are we doing here, God? So pressure, right? That was the season that I was going through. But as I started this podcast, right? As I started this podcast, I talked about it on Entry Zero that July 1st, the Lord spoke to me, and He told me that Working While Wounded is the name of your podcast. Now, mind you, I was not expecting that. For the past couple months, I've really just been like hurting and in pain, and just the Lord has been uprooting so much stuff in me as I'm going through this transition process. But when he spoke that to me, when he spoke that word to me on July 1st, man, the way that I just had this, like I was just filled with the Holy Spirit. And it was like, okay, I have a job for you, now go. And it was just like, in no time, because right now it's the 11th, and I'm telling you, every day since the 1st, I've just been working on building, working while wounded, even in the midst of struggling with other things, even in the midst of not knowing how things are going to work out. And so, yeah, but it was like he just gave me this strength. He gave me this endurance to pursue it and to build it. And so that, like, is a physical representation of overflow to me. Like, that's what I'm seeing. And so he started explaining the concept of oil to me. After I got that word about working while wounded, he had me start reading the New Testament, and I just started reading it every day. And eventually I got to this passage about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. And the thing that's funny about the Lord, the thing that I love about him, is that when he wants to reveal something to you, like when he's super serious about you understanding just a concept, or, you know, something that he's been trying to speak to you, he like repeats himself. It was the same thing for me when he told me it was time to get out of the army. He said it over and over and over again through many different ways. Same thing when a year ago, this is like a long story, it'll be probably another episode, but a year ago I had walked away from the same relationship I'm in now because the Lord told me to, and there was just so much like confirmation of, okay, you need to do this, you need to set it down, you need to walk away. In the same way, there was confirmation that it was time to go back. But with this particular concept of what he was doing and what he was producing in me in this past season of my life, is he confirmed it over and over again. The first thing that I'm going to show you is just complete living proof. I'm going to show you guys a painting that I did a solo prayer retreat in June. I took myself to book a nice Airbnb, and I just went and I worshiped and I praised the Lord and I prayed and I just spent time with him. And one of the things that I did was I painted, and I painted what I felt the Lord was showing me, and this is what came out. Yeah, oil. Straight up, him pouring his oil into me as an empty vessel and just overflowing. I can't even understand the way that the Lord was just revealing things to me that I wouldn't fully understand in the moment, but that he would like put together as a mosaic for me to see the bigger picture. And so the first thing was that he had me paint this picture. The second thing is just that I had been watching the show The Chosen. And I had gotten to this season in this episode where it's about to be time for Jesus to go to the cross. And there's like this episode where leading up to that, he's like really hyper fixating on the process of olive oil being produced, and how, if you don't know, in that time, the way that olive oil was produced is that they would take really heavy stones and basically just crush the olives and press them all the way down until oil would flow out of them, until they could get like the substance that was inside of the olives out and make it into that olive oil. So yeah, Jesus like sees this scene and it's really intense, and he's like seeing the process of oil being produced and kind of like just feeling anxious almost. I don't know if that's the right word, but relating to that feeling, because the amount of pressure that was used to produce that oil is like the pressure that he was feeling to carry that burden and get up on the cross. And so I really related to that, and I was like, oh, like that's such a hard season to be in, like just under immense pressure. The third thing that he showed me was just my friends, like Christian friends, you know, like a prayer group and community, and we would just talk and share. And one of the things that kept coming up in conversation was just like oil, and oil being produced from what crushed you. And I would just kind of be like, oh, like I've like heard that, I think conceptually, but I didn't really sit and meditate on it. So that was something that kept coming up. And then one of the other things that happened is, so after like, you know, these things, they just keep popping up and it's like oil, and I'm like getting curious. I'm like, okay, like maybe I should look into this more, right? But what ended up happening was that all this stuff's going on, and then I end up reading the New Testament, and then I really get into Jesus in the garden in Matthew chapter 26. And I remember seeing the name Gethsemane, and I was like, what does that mean? Like, I think a long time ago I had looked it up. Sometimes I look up things, like I get a prompting from the Holy Spirit, and it's like, hey, what does that mean? Or what do you think that means? And then I go and I'll look it up, because there's more. Like, it's seeking the treasure, seeking the kingdom, seeking what he's trying to reveal to you. So I had looked up Gethsemane and what that meant, and it literally translated to oil press. And so imagine that Jesus is in the place of pressing, and he is actively getting oil produced in him. And so the beautiful thing about that picture is that if you don't know the concept of oil in the Bible, it's that oil was used to anoint people. It was used to heal wounds at a certain time. It was used to be a means of provision for people that created it and sold it. It had so many different uses, and it was this holy thing. And there was this passage in the Bible that talked about specific instructions. I think it was in the book of Exodus, of how to make like the perfect olive oil, anointing oil. And so it's just this holy thing, right? Like, and it has a purpose, right? And the thing that really stood out to me is that oil was used as a way to heal wounds. And because if you've heard anything about Working While Wounded, the ministry is just trying to help people walk through obedience and walk through faith with the Lord, because there's healing in that. And that even when sometimes the things that you go through with him, the seasons that you have to walk through are hard and they're painful, there's still so much healing as you go through the process and as you let the Lord do what he needs to do in you. So I'm really just like, I'm blown away at this point, right? I'm like, okay, Lord, I see what you've been doing. I see that in this season of pressure in my life, you've been teaching me how to handle it differently, how to handle the pain differently, how to steward the pain differently, how to respond more gracefully under pressure. Because when I'm in pain from something, I have an attitude. If I'm hurting from something, I'm like not happy to be around because I'm uncomfortable. I'm in pain. And God's like, you know, he's kind of revealing to me, you still have something to carry. You still have to reflect me in those moments of pain and in those moments of pressure. And I need you to have grace, right? Like in the way that you move through the world, because pressure isn't going to stop. The world's not going to stop being hard. Pain isn't going to stop coming. But what's changing, if you would allow it to change, what's transforming, if you would allow it to transform, is you, is the posture of your heart, is the way that you will carry yourself throughout those moments, because God is transforming your mind and your heart literally in every step of the way. So that is what he was kind of showing me. And so I end up writing this blog. I'm like, oh, this could be a good episode entry for Working While Wounded. Like, I'm going to just sit and I'm going to write and I'm going to go at it. And then what came out was just this article about like start to finish what I saw Jesus do in the garden, how his posture was as he was going through this place of deep pressing, and what was produced as a result of that. Because what I want to get into is that Jesus, man, he is so matchless. Like, just the goal, I think, for Christians is to just look more like him. And I really don't think that we could ever truly 100% be like him, because he just was this holy, set apart, non-sinning, right? Like purest person that was fully man and fully God. And so it's like it's impossible for us to achieve everything that he was, but what's not impossible is to try, right, and look more like him. And so Jesus in the garden had this posture that was really, really special to me, and I want to read it to you guys because it stood out to me. All right, so in Matthew chapter 26, it says, Jesus in the garden, and it says that Jesus said to his disciples, I am deeply grieved to the point of death. Remain here and stay awake with me. Going a little further, he fell face down and prayed, My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not as I will, but as you will. And so remember, we're talking about Jesus in the garden is the moment before he is about to get betrayed by Judas Iscariot and handed over to the authorities to crucify him. So he's betrayed by one of his disciples that was following him, that he loved. And so he's just like, he knows what's coming. He knows what he's about to have to give up. He knows that Judas is about to betray him. But he also knows that he has this calling on his life from the Lord to be the sacrifice that would wash away every single person's sins for all of humanity, that would reconcile and restore their relationship to the Lord. And so it's like, he knows the call on my life is great. But even Jesus was sitting in that garden and saying, God, I'm in so much pain from what you're asking me to do. I'm in so much pain from what I'm going through and what I'm walking through right now. And yet I know that there's something that I have to get to. There's some job that I have to do, some purpose that I have to fulfill for you. And I know it's my responsibility, but Lord, is there another way? And if there's another way, please, make it happen, right? Let this cup pass from me. The first part of that, breaking that down to me, was just, wow. Jesus knows what I'm feeling in this season. Jesus knows. And this is not to say that, anything that I'm going through is as bad as getting up on a cross to literally give your life up in death. But what we go through can be very heavy. The things that the Lord asks us to be obedient in can be very heavy. The pressures of life in general can be very heavy. And Jesus knows what it feels like to go through such a immense amount of pressure and pain all at once. And yet we have to look at his posture in that moment, because I think that's what a lot of us miss, especially me included, is that in the middle of pain and pressure, instead of how the Bible said Jesus fell down on his face and prayed, we lash out, we react, we run away from a situation, we try to make things happen and fit together all on our own. But if you look at Jesus, his posture was both somehow overcome with emotion and overwhelmed at what he was being asked to do, and yet in complete submission. Because there are also other figures and moments and stories in the Bible of characters who fell down on their face before the Lord. And that's one thing that I can relate to in this season. And the reason it stood out to me is because there's been so many moments where things have just been so overwhelming and so difficult that I literally have fallen on my face in tears, asking God to restore me, asking God to heal me, asking God to make a way. And what's funny about when he brought me to this passage is that I understood on my face is exactly where he wanted me to be, because it's not just a posture of brokenness, it's also a posture of submission. And so that was just such a beautiful, beautiful confirmation to me that in the middle of pain, in the middle of pressure, submit, bring it to the Lord, lay at his feet willingly, with your face and your tears crying onto his feet. And that's exactly what Jesus did. And so moving past that, Jesus prays, he goes through this process, this place of pressing. And obviously, the picture of that is so beautiful, because he's in all this pressure. He's in the garden of oil press, and what is being produced is oil. What is being produced is anointing. What is being produced and is coming out, what's coming out of him is submission. And so the things that are being pressed is God is bringing up all the things that are inside of him that point to the Lord, that point to holiness, that point to Jesus. So God is using that season of pressure to make what was always in him come to the surface. And so I think that's really beautiful for us to understand, is that when you're going through that season of pressing, when you're going through that season of pain and pressure, God's using it to pour something out of you that he placed inside of you that looks like the fruits of his spirit, that looks like peace, that looks like self-control, that looks like patience and kindness and gentleness, right? And faithfulness to the Lord, obedience, right? So that's just a word of encouragement, that if you're walking in this season where everything is heavy, then look to Jesus. Look to him for how to get through it, because he shows you exactly how he did it. And so even further than that, after he does his prayer in the garden, and he, by the way, he's like actively disappointed by his disciples, because if you remember at the beginning, he told his disciples, stay awake with me and pray. And 3 times he went to pray, he told them to stay awake, and when he came back, they were sleeping. And then, like, they couldn't stay up long enough. And then he went to pray again, came back, same thing, they're like knocked out. And he's just like actively, can you imagine? Like, he's just probably actively hurt and disappointed by his friends, his brothers, his disciples, the people he loves. They're not even supporting him fully. They just couldn't. They didn't have the capacity to. But he still loved on them, and he still just did what he was supposed to do with the Lord and showed up to the Lord even in the middle of being hurt, right? So I think that's a really important picture as well. So eventually they leave the garden, and as soon as they leave the garden, Judas shows up with all those Pharisees and all the Roman authorities, and they take him. They take him into captivity, and then the story from there, he gets beaten, he's treated horribly all the way up eventually until he does go onto the cross. And he does fulfill the prophecy of the Son of Man, which is to restore humanity's relationship to God, to reconcile us, to pay that expensive price of his blood for our salvation, and for our freedom from sin, right? And so that picture, like, when I think about that, not only was it the blood that flowed out of him to produce healing, right, to cover our sins, but it was oil being produced out of him to anoint those that came after him, to heal and flow into the wounds of the people that he loved, the broken generation, right? And so there was just blood and oil flowing from Jesus from that process. And I personally am thankful that the Lord didn't make me get up on a cross and pour my blood out, right? Because the cross was made for us. The cross was made for sinners. Getting crucified is what they did to criminals, right? And so Jesus was he was labeled a criminal, but he wasn't, and he willingly got up there. And so instead of me and you having to get up on a cross, the process that we get to go through is the pressing, right? And producing that oil, producing that thing that will flow out of us, that looks like Jesus, that smells like the fruits of his spirit, that walks and talks like the fruits of his spirit. And so, yeah, I think that's such a beautiful message. I think that's such a beautiful word. And again, you can 100% read more in depth and in detail about what I wrote and just all the verses in the Bible and the things that the Lord was speaking to me about this season. But 100% for confirmation, as soon as July 1st hit, I had oil pouring out of me. And what I believe about working while wounded is that it is the evidence of the season of pressing that I just walked through to get to this point, so that I could carry it and steward it with better character, with better grace when things are hard, right? Like, let's say, what if I start getting negative comments? Like, am I gonna lash out? What if people start judging me and saying, you suck? Am I gonna respond, or am I gonna just have grace and take it to the Lord? What if, it doesn't look like it's working out and it doesn't pop off? Am I still gonna be obedient to what the Lord called me to do? So this is the oil. And I'm telling you, the Lord has healed me. The Lord has graced me. The Lord has given me the tools that I needed to produce Working While Wounded, but also to walk through pain differently and steward pain differently. And one thing that I'll just be honest about, because the point of Working While Wounded is not that we're going to be hurting all the time. It's not that pain is just inevitable. No, the point is that when you're going through pain, you learn how to still walk in obedience when it's hard. I need to share this because there is healing that comes through obedience, even through doing Working While Wounded. It's literally healing me. God is speaking words to me that are just like, wow, I get it, Lord, or thank you, Lord, that you're doing something new in me. And then I get to share it with other people who might also be going through the same thing. So it is healing me from the inside out as I walk in obedience, and I get to help others heal as well, which is just a beautiful testimony. But the thing is that I just went through a breakup yesterday in my relationship with a man that I believe the Lord has been speaking to me about. He's been speaking to me about marriage this year. He's been speaking to me about this relationship. He's been showing me so much for the past 2 years. But yesterday we had this understanding, and I'm sorry if he sees this and I didn't talk to him about putting it on here. I don't know what to tell you, but I wasn't planning to share this. It was kind of a mutual agreement that we were going to go separate ways, because the Lord was telling him that he needed to let me go. And I was just like, that's so weird, because the Lord is telling me that I need to stay put. And mind you, when I was talking about the pressing season, a part of that in my relationship was we had this 6-week break of not talking and taking space. And it was so uncomfortable for me, because I'm the type of person that I had, what I've now been delivered from, was this anxious attachment. And so I didn't like this space. But the Lord showed me so much in this space and actually revealed that anxious attachment and actually uprooted it and used the space to help me draw near to him so he could heal some things in me. And so, now that we've gone through that process, we're kind of like, are we going to reconcile? How's it going to move forward? And then as I was going through the season of separation, the Lord was pressing me. I wanted to break up. I was 4 weeks of not really talking is not working for me. Why am I even here? I should just leave. But the Lord told me not to. And he told me to sit in that season and walk through it and just wait it out. And then when I waited it out, we broke up. So I don't know. If I'm being honest, sitting in front of you today and talking about this, it's there was some peace, though, that the Lord gave me about letting go and opening my hands so that he could move in my life in any situation. And it was I didn't have any anxiety anymore. I wasn't worried about the outcome anymore. I was just fully trusting Jesus, and that if what he spoke to me is true about this relationship, then let it go, because the outcome and his word is going to be true. And regardless, even if marriage and that promise doesn't happen with this specific relationship, it doesn't mean that God won't make it happen in another way, in another form. So there was this space of learning, okay, God, I just was obedient, and I took the space, and I did what you asked me to do, and I didn't walk away when I wanted to, and yet I still came to this place of breaking up. And it's I thought that there was going to be this supernatural reconciliation, and then actually there was just an end to something. But what I'm saying about that is that the Lord has graced me with how to walk through that, because I was able to sit across from the table and not be mad, not react, not be, like, da da da, I can't believe I wasted my time and this and that and the third. It was more so just like, okay, like if you feel the Lord is telling you you need to release it, then be obedient in that, even if it hurts you and even if it hurts me. And it hurt both of us to come to this place of understanding we have to let go. But I wanted to share that because you wouldn't really be able to tell that that's what I was going through. And it's because the Lord has given me this oil, the fruits of his spirit has produced in me a new way of how to walk through pain. And I know that he has that for everyone else too. And so like if you're in this season where you just went through something painful and you're like, Lord, what the heck? This doesn't look like what you promised me. Hold on, because there's something more important than the promise. Like I believe that what the Lord is teaching me right now, what he's healing me from, what he's telling me how to walk through is more important than the promise that I am believing him for. Because it's not about what God can do for us, but it's just simply about who he is and serving him and loving him because of who he is in our life. So yeah, that's what I'm actively going through and actively healing from as I show up and make these episodes and write these blogs. And I pray that if there's anyone going through a season like that, if there's anyone hurting, if there's anyone hoping for a promise still, right? Believing in the Lord for a promise, then I just invite you to get into that secret place with him, fall face down in prayer, and seek him and seek the understanding of what's going on in this season and also what it is that he's trying to produce in you. Because at the end of the day, it's bigger than us. The things that we go through, the things that the Lord asks us to be obedient in, they're almost never just about us, right? They're almost always to produce and advance his kingdom. And that's our purpose. And that's my goal, is to keep showing up and being obedient even when I feel like it's not working out in my favor, even when I feel like things aren't going 100% my way. To keep showing up and to keep being faithful to the Lord, because he has been so faithful in my life. The last thing that I wanted to share with you guys is this was another part of the confirmation, is that after I wrote the first blog entry, Gethsemane, the place of pressing, I saw my home church pastor, Lisa Kai at Inspire Church, had done in June a women's sort of like a mini conference, but she hosted it for the women, and I watched it on YouTube because I don't remember why, but I didn't get to go to that mini conference in June. I only saw it on YouTube in July after I had started having all this revelation. And so I went back, I watched that YouTube. It honestly posted probably like a day before or a day after I wrote the article. And so I watched it, and it literally was confirmation after confirmation. Everything about the pressing process, the pressing season, everything about how oil was produced, and everything about how the Lord wants to have you postured in that season. And it was so good. And so if there's anyone that might want to watch that, I'll put the link in the bio. But it was really, really good. And one thing that she said that really stood out to me was, don't give up too early and don't lose heart in the pressing season before you see the oil flow. Like, don't back out of the pressure before you start to see what God is trying to produce. Because for me, that could have looked like pulling my packet to get out of the army and just staying put in where I was because nothing looks certain right now. For me, that could have been like breaking up with my boyfriend prematurely because I was uncomfortable in the space. For me, that could have looked like not trusting God with my finances and stopping tithing because I was worried about how I was going to make it in 2 months. But I pressed in. I didn't back out. I pressed in, and the way that I did that is I just worshiped him. I prayed to him. I cried to him. I showed him my whole heart. And then finally, July 1st, kind of months after going through this season of just pain and pressure, God gives me this gift and is like, now produce, now flow. And like my heart just feels lighter. I feel like joy. I feel like peace. Even in hard conversations, I'm like, my nervous system is so regulated. It's a peace that surpasses all understanding. So I'm just encouraging you, don't get out of the season prematurely if that's the season that you're in. And as always, we're not all in the same season. Every word isn't for every person at every moment. So anything that you hear, I also encourage you to take it back to the Lord and just ask him, God, does this apply to me right now? And if it does, how does it apply to me? Or if not, maybe it's something I just need to save in my back pocket for another day, or save it for a friend. But at the end of it all, test what you hear by the Spirit, ask God for confirmation against the word, and just lean into him. Just listen to the whisper of his voice and what he has for you in this season. But I truly do hope that this message might have inspired somebody, or might have even just comforted them, because the pressing season is not easy. It is very testing. Yeah, it's very testing. So I understand that. I've walked through it, and I can tell you what is on the other side, though, is oil. So yeah, I love you all. I hope you have the best week, just filled with the Lord's presence and joy and peace. And next week, we should have another entry coming out. I'm not going to make any promises. I have an idea for what it's going to be, but I haven't written it out yet. So I'm not going to make any promises, but I'm planning for next week. That's the theme that the Lord's had me on. And also remember, follow us at Working While Wounded on blogger.com for the blog posts, on Substack as well for both blog posts and podcasts eventually. And also Instagram, Working While Wounded. And then lastly, if you need any prayer, please check out the link. It's on seedlink.com, but there's a link in my channel to go to the Working While Wounded prayer channel and submit any prayer requests. Okay? Bye. God bless you.